Hi, it's Jane, and on today's WOTWIP and Coffee, although I have peach mango iced tea, I am filming this Thursday afternoon. Sometimes I film them Friday morning, sometimes Thursday evening. Just depends on what the week is bringing. I have a couple of doctor's appointments in the morning, so I won't have an opportunity to film, plus a senior luncheon at noon. So this is the water for the afternoon for Thursday. But, and I'll drink on that probably until about 5, maybe. I don't know, somewhere around there. So I thought today I would want to get this crochet hat finished. Still haven't found that hook, so haven't ordered a new one yet because I keep thinking if I order it, it'll show up immediately, which isn't that the way it happens. So, figured I would finish this hat, and then pick up the knitting, if we're still chit-chatting, which we might be. Because I have 3 more rows to go on the hat, so anyway. Here, that way I can work on a couple of projects while we're talking. Boy, this week has been really crazy, hasn't it? Between everything that's going on with the way the ICE protesters are behaving and acting, and nonsense that they're spewing, and Israel, Iran, that war, and then President Trump throwing that little curveball out there, telling all of Tehran to flee, leave Tehran. People talking about, he's starting a war, he's getting us in the war. And then they're going on about, over there on TikTok, and I believe maybe Instagram too. There are soldiers that have been showing video of them eating steak and lobster, which traditionally, before you go into the battlefield or you're getting deployed, if your unit is, you are served a meal of steak and lobster. However, that steak and lobster was actually served on the 14th, the 250th birthday of the Army. So it was in celebration of the birthday. But, rumors, they get going, they get started, people start acting nutty. And then President Trump comes out and puts 2 big old flagpoles on the south and northwest lawns of the White House. Those on the left are all apoplectic about it and going nuts over it. And I saw, and I will tell you, I did see a video supposedly of girls, high school girls in Iran, when they had heard that tweet that President Trump had put out about fleeing Tehran, were taking off their hijabs and celebrating the death of Khomeini. Now, I don't think that he's dead. I don't see any reports saying he is. And if he were, do you think that leadership in Iran would let that know? So, there's that too, right? But it's proven to be pretty interesting. And then you look back at all the things where Hillary Clinton had claimed if she was president, she would bomb Iran, take out their nuclear facilities. And memories. They've been talking about this since when did the Shah of Iran get toppled? Was that 78? 79? I think that was the latter part of 79. 70, no, it was the first part of 79, if I remember correctly. They've been talking about that kind of thing since then that I can remember. So it's been going on for many years about, you know, we can't let the Ayatollah Khomeini get nuclear, and I wholeheartedly believe in that. We can't. We just can't let Iran get nuclear warheads. And if you are enriching uranium at the pace that they have been, you're not doing that for energy. You're not. Most people are scared of nuclear energy. So, there's that. And then I saw protests now where, no, I'm sorry folks, you can't make this up. It just makes you wonder, what is wrong with those on the left? I mean, they don't know what they stand for. We stand with Ukraine. We stand with Palestinians. Okay? That means you support Hamas, in my book. But now they're out there protesting, waving Iranian flags. We stand with Iran. Okay, you stood with Ukraine, who was versus Russia. Now you're standing for Iran, which Russia supports, sends in aid. So you support Ukraine and Russia now too? I don't know. And you know, a lot of those militants over there, their cry is death to America, so now you're standing for the end of America? And I do find this rather interesting. Their next No Kings protest is July the 4th. We haven't had a king ever, so still don't have a king. And unless you consider the Lord your king, which I do, it's the only king that I serve. But seriously, on the 4th of July, the very day that we proclaimed our independence from a monarchy, you think it's appropriate to do that, to complain about you don't want to have a king, to protest a president, when the reason you get to have your silly little protest is because you live in America and you have the freedom to have it? Do you think kings would allow that? True kings would have squashed that, would have taken you out, put you in the barracks or wherever and tortured you or killed you, so I don't know. But, you know, I don't understand that mindset anyway, so. And yeah, I do have a couple of friends who are Democrats, and quite frankly, a couple of them have mental health issues, and I can see why. They don't know which way to turn. They don't actually have good problem-solving skills, and that's something through their therapy that they're learning to get, so that's a good thing. Do have some other Democrat friends that openly say they don't have mental health issues, but there are times I wonder some of their statements, so we won't go there. Yeah, I can be kind of biased that way against people who lean left because they don't always think things through logically, and I see a lot of them just take up whatever cry is going on in their party, you know, because they must be right. They're for the people. And my question is, since when? If you go down the history of Democrats, They've rarely been for the people, ever. They've always been for power, but not the people. So, and some of the decisions and things they've made aren't for the people. Look at some of the markups that the Senate is doing to appease Democrats on a lot of these bills. Do they help any of the people? No, they don't. They help the oligarchs, right and left oligarchs. So, just choose your battles wisely. That's all I got to say. But, do I think we're going to war? No, I don't. I think it would have to be a very serious mistake by another country to get us into a war. That's all I'm going to say there. Now, I do think there's a lot of people that are calling for people to be very aware of what's going on. They think that this is all signal virtuing for sleeper cells to rise up. But I have always thought that for years now, that is true. So, but then again, when I was a nurse working in the hospital, we were all given basically combat training in a sense, so that we could deal with patients who were out of control. And during that time, we were also taught to be aware of our surroundings, aware of what's going on with what you see, the patients in your hospitals. Not only that, but the family members. If they are acting out a little strange, you might want to pull them aside or have security come and talk with them to bring them down. You know, those kind of things. So there's that. And then, of course, June the 13th, little baby Chance was born. And we have a lot of the left saying that no, he was autopsied. Their words, not mine. And that this is the result of the no abortion ban in Georgia, which has nothing to do with it. This was a law that was passed in 2016 or 2017 regarding infants. Fetuses, if you will. That if there was any possibility of viability, that the mother's life would be sustained until a time when the baby could be born, which is, unfortunately, almost all hospitals have that kind of ruling. So it happens. So on the 13th, they determined that there were some further systems in this mother that were failing. So they decided to take the baby by cesarean. The baby was born. That's the end of it. The baby was born. The mother was stitched back together in a sense, most likely a zipper type closing, because then, since she had no viable child within her, then the family had to make the decision of when they would pull the plug. And I believe that has already happened. I'm not positive if it has or not. But the mother wanted to see her daughter get her birthday on Sunday, and then they came together with the doctors to make the decision to turn off life support for her daughter. Now, a lot of those on the left are saying some pretty shitty things, excuse my language, not only about this child, but about the mother, about the family, and quite honestly, you need to keep your nose out of their business. They chose the name Chance for this baby. They chose the name Chance. That, in a nutshell, kind of talks about where they stand on that issue. And if you have never lost a child to death, keep your mouth shut. But some of the things that I've been seeing have been reunite this baby with its mother. That is sick, people. You are sick. That is something that you are advocating. There is no reason this child cannot grow up to be extremely healthy and a functioning adult in society. Does he have some hurdles? Yes. But from the sounds of it, it looks like he's a fighter. And he's fighting. And the family, the mother of Adriana, has asked for people to pray for their family and for Chance. So do that. I mean, I know this lady has been in my prayers, having been a mother who lost a child to death. So yeah, I absolutely am praying for this woman. Need to answer this. Sorry about that. But, yeah, it's sad all the way around. This mother was put in a position with her daughter to advocate for her daughter. She chose to do that. So, I think we should all stand behind this mother and her decision. But those are the big things that I'm seeing this week that I think are rather interesting going on. Of course, we'll see more of it. You know, because temper tantrums. It's a good thing to throw a temper tantrum. You don't get your way, so you got to throw a temper tantrum. And I do think it's rather funny, the left saying, oh, Harris truly won. Okay, whatever. And now you want to go back and really delve and do a forensics of those computers that stole the vote. But you didn't want to do that before, when someone else thought it had happened. So yeah, temper tantrums. And I think the difference between the two parties is very evident. Right, conservatives, do we go on a temper tantrum, tirade throughout the streets of our city, destroying things, burning down things, blocking roads, those kind of things? No. We just continue to live our lives and go about our business like usual. Was I happy that Biden had won? No. I'll be honest, I was very concerned for our country. Well, we've sort of survived it, although we've had a lot of issues through that. We had a wide open border that brought in millions and millions. And now we're paying for it. When you open the door and let anybody in, there's a problem. And I do think it's interesting. You know, a lot of folks, I think, was it Nebraska, where they had raided the meat packing plant and had removed all those illegals, who, quite interestingly enough, they passed the E-Verify. So that makes you wonder, were they using stolen Social Security numbers, stolen IDs? Had they purchased them? How did that happen? So apparently there are some issues with E-Verify that need to be fixed, which I've always thought that. But once people found out about the raid, the next day, people were lined up all the way out the door. Their waiting room was filled with Americans and people who were here legally seeking a job at that meatpacking plant. Supposedly, though, these are jobs that Americans don't want to do. Apparently, that's not true, folks.